And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bigfoot Odysseys, a researcher's report. Got a great show planned for you tonight. With me, as always, producer and co-host of the report, Miss Daniela Agliolo. How are you, Daniela?
I'm good, thank you.
Looking lovely as always. And our guest for this evening, man, at least needs a little introduction. You guys should know who this is. Uh, Creator of Beasts of Britain on YouTube, Mr. Andy McGrath. How are you, Andy?
I'm good. I'm good. As I said, I'm in the UK and I've been up since 5 a.m. So I'm a little bit tired down, but I'm still with you.
We
I'm
won't
still,
hold it against you. We'll
I'm as
try to.
sharp as I'm ever going to be, really tired or awake. So that's it. It's always the same.
Well, I think you and I are probably on the same level. I've been running a fever since yesterday, and I fixed. So everybody know I got. This is not a hot toddy. This is a cold toddy. This is lemon juice, honey. You see my little peppermint in the bottom right there, my peppermint lifesaver, and wild turkey 101. So it's working. It's breaking this stuff up in my
I'll
chest.
give you a recipe at the end, Kerry, when it's all finished. It's disgusting, but it'll get rid of it in
Oh,
one day
just what I
flat.
need. Something
One
disgusting.
day flat.
you
But
know,
it'll
I was
work.
I was looking back, and we've got Miss D waiting backstage. We're going to bring her on in a few minutes. But I was looking back at some of our first shows. This is our 70th researchers report, and I looked at like the third or fourth show, and it was very cringeworthy stuff. If you compare the way we do the show now and the way Danielle has done this, our show I think is comparable to we'll call it the Donald Trump show because we have no idea what we're doing and it still ends up good. So I think that's
I think that's a fantastic assessment
yeah,
of
I
the
think that
Trump
I
show.
think that works. So yeah, Andy, before we get into this, I just want to just ask everyone, please keep it clean for us in the chat. We do appreciate that. We do have the best moderators on YouTube. And then before we get to interview with Andy, we've got Miss D Sims. Hey D, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I think you had some information for us, didn't you?
I did. I do. I mean,
You
of
did. You
course I
do.
do.
All right.
First of all, I'd like to say hello to everybody and tell everybody I said thank you very much. I want to real quickly read off a few names because I promised I would. These are the people that donated to help me and my family. I'll just do this quick. It's not a long list. Leslie, James, Eric, Kim, Line, Lynn, Nancy, Martha, Darlene, New Age, Kathleen, David, MRC, Jonathan, Jamie, Jason, Calvin, David, Mike, Charles, John's Emporium, Samuel, David, William, Christopher, Carrie Ann, Linda, Donna, Nancy, Robin, Planetarium, James, Jonathan, Chance, Robert, Christine, Clayton, Paul, Pam, Deborah, Candace, Marianne, Diane, James, Brandon, Bill, Cheryl, Christine, Joey, Lynn, Brian, Debbie, Joseph, Bobby, Gordon, James, Rick, Michael, Patrick, Ken, Barb, and Jill,
And
and
a
Jenny.
partridge in a pear tree.
And I said it was a short list. I was joking. I want to say thank you very, very much to everybody from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't be more humble than this what you guys did, plus all the prayers. I probably couldn't even read off in a couple days all the people that wrote to me and said that they were praying that I've never even met before.
That's
I want you to
fantastic.
know that we met the mortgage and the insurance company, the new insurance company went ahead and accepted us, and we now have 60 days until it goes over. Yes, I know. Praise God. And I'm so happy. And my husband said he did not understand why or how somebody that didn't even know him could help us out of the situation. And I told him, I said, there's a big difference between people and family. And I said, I think there's a lot of people, especially in this group, that understand the true meaning of family. And I'm always here to help anybody that I possibly can. I never expected it to turn around the other way. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And if there's anything that I can do for any of you, you know I'll do it in a heartbeat. But I want to thank Jamie Harms again for really pushing this off, and for Kerry, for you guys giving us a platform to do it with. And I'm excited. The next step is looking for a place for us to live, and getting the kids someplace to live, and we're working on that right now. So I've got the realtor coming on the 24th, and he said he promises he could sell my house. So
That's
that's
great,
what we're
Dee.
waiting on.
And yeah, Jamie Harms, even though she is a Russian agent, she
You
yeah.
better stop.
That's Mr. Duffy came up with all that stuff. I don't know. I'm just perpetuating the rumor. That's all.
Oh my
But
gosh.
no, Dee, it's a return. That's the way I look at it. You help so many people, including myself, and we're just glad we were able to get it done. It wasn't like a 90% way. You got the whole thing done, and that was fantastic.
It is truly fantastic, and like I said, it now gives us about 60 days breathing room to get the stuff done that we need to get done, and hopefully getting this house on the market and a small place for us to park the RV so until they sell the house. And so I'm really, really happy, and I thank you again. I appreciate everybody.
Absolutely, and everybody knows that, Dee. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate you.
All right, love you guys.
Coming on, letting us go. Love you too, dear. We'll see you.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. All right. What a wonderful lady. I mean, she does so much for other people, asks for nothing. And that was met. You guys did a wonderful job. Kudos to everybody that did that. All right. Now to the interview with Andy. Andy, you've got another book coming out. Is that right? Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. So I was just speaking to somebody about this earlier. So the Beasts of series, Beasts of Britain was the first book. Beasts of North America is the next one. Now, I was originally planning to bring it out in December, and I started writing it and scrapped that edition, and I started again in January from scratch. And I plan to have it done by the summer, which is fine. I'll probably write about 3 hours a day, late night hours, these kinds of hours. And it's the same concept. It's the same principles, theories, sightings, folklore, modern folklore, and everything that goes behind it. But in North America, geographical North America, Greenland, Canada, USA, Mexico, the islands, the whole thing. Obviously, the USA will probably take up the bulk of that because it's such a well-researched area. But I'm really getting into it. The thing I'm most struggling with really is that the USA is such a heavily researched area for all types of cryptids that you just really end up in the position of having to reference all of your friends and all of the work they've done constantly. So what I'm trying to do is locate unreported sightings of well-known creatures in certain areas. Say, okay, well, this is the Mothman or whatever, the Fouke monster, but this is a sighting that nobody's talked about before, that type of thing. And it's going to be lighter than Beasts of Britain. It's more of a general reference. It's a bigger book because, of course, it's a continent and not, not just a country like Britain. So it should be lighter. It should be less packed by personal theories and philosophies on things. Although the second edition of Beasts of Britain was less packed with that type of stuff, thankfully, than the first one, which was my first book, so just kind of like hysterical. So yes, Beasts of North America should be great, hopefully. I'm trying to make it interesting and different, and hopefully we'll have it ready for everybody around about June, July this year.
Well, good deal. Before you start, Danielle, I just want to say there's nothing wrong to me with referencing other people. I mean, I think someone has to do that. Someone has to consolidate these things. I mean, that's exactly what we do with Bigfoot Odyssey. We don't do research. We just shine a light on people that are doing it. And we use all their stuff. It's all their stories. It's all their evidence. Everything we do, it's there. So to me, there's nothing wrong with that. I think someone has to do that. And I'm glad you're doing it.
Thank you. I mean, in relation to that as well, like, absolutely, of course, that's how everybody essentially gets on. That's how we have, we have all of our sources in the backs of our books. But I just meant in the sense of to give people maybe versions of sightings that they're not familiar with in the book, other than things they might have heard a lot of times. And okay, this is it's the Boggy Creek, this is the Fouke monster, this is the Skunk Ape, and these are all the stories we've heard time and time again. So I'm digging. I'll find something hopefully. But in the meantime, I'm just enjoying building up a picture of the country because it's very strange to me. I know my own country, but this is a vastly bigger country, the USA, and then continent in North America, and it's very, very interesting. It's got lots of different environments to cope with.
Oh,
So
extremely
I'm
diverse.
really enjoying that.
Extremely diverse, from weather to landscape to
Mm.
people. It's a very diverse country for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would even say, Kerry, essentially, it's kind of like a couple of countries rolled
It
into
is.
one,
It's 50
isn't
states,
it?
is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys probably don't have that much in common with the guys on the West Coast in LA, right? Or, up
We live
there in
here.
Boston. Yeah.
We still love
Different.
them.
Yeah, it's the same here. Me and Daniela, we're both British, but we're from very, very different parts of the country.
We are, yeah. We're it is a lot different, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
In the
definitely.
north to the south, I guess.
So which is the
Um,
posh? You in the posh area there, Daniela?
I'm definitely the poshest house on the street. Um, I'm not in a posh area. I'm not in a highly rich area. We're all, as northerners, uh, compared to, there's more money in the south, isn't there? Or there seems to be more
Yeah.
money in the south. And then right up north in Scotland is quite a rich place, I think. We're
Yeah,
just all,
parts of Scotland. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. But it's very underpopulated. So there's about 54 million people in England, where we both live. Scotland's 5.5 now, I think. Wales is just under 4, and Northern Ireland is 1.5 or 1.8. It might be 1.8 now million people. So the Celtic areas are really underpopulated, and England is is the most populous nation. But the north and south divide. Every region actually that you get into. I'm down in the southeast, or south really. I'm just outside of London, in a borough called or county called Surrey. It's a very green county. The area that we're in is very rich, but we're like the poor people right on the edge of the rich area. we're postcode rich or zip code rich, but we're not money rich.
Well, about 340 people here in the United States, and most of those are on the coast. So
Yeah.
the interior is very, very sparse. But can you give us a sneak peek into this book? Just maybe a little tale that you've got going on.
I don't have anything to give really, and the reason is I scrapped everything that I was looking into. So I'm trying to avoid giving anything away. It does start with lake monsters, like I always like to start with, and it starts with my visit to Lake Champlain, which was in 2018, and some of my adventures there. I went there, spent some time with Katie Elizabeth there, who's a lady who's been around Lake Champlain for about 8 years. I believe she had something of a minor champ sighting or has had several sightings, and she spent the last 8 years there, henceforth, trying to prove it to be true. Also in great communication with Scott Modis as well, which we'll all know from shows like Monster Quest and Lake Champ Monster, and his work with William Dranghini's and Sandra Mancy. And just really getting into that legend. Now, what I was really amazed with that lake is it's 114 miles long, which when you look at Loch Ness, you go to Loch Ness like me and you think it's a really big place. A really big lake, 114 miles long and 14 miles wide at the widest bit, or 15 miles wide. That's like a sea compared to what we're used to. Something could easily hide out there, you'd think. It was interesting. I did speak to a local witness who'd never reported the sighting before, who'd seen at Arnold's Bay, parked up at dusk, I think, with a friend, the champ monster allegedly for 5 minutes. Nobody had a phone on them. Who knows? It's strange, but it does happen from time to time. That somebody might not have a phone, although that is primarily one of my flags.
Yeah,
One of
nowadays.
my red flags.
nowadays.
This was only about 3 years ago. So,
Yeah.
but taking into consideration the individual and the type of lifestyle that he lives, it was believable. It's an interesting thing to me. I mean, the thing I struggle with most, really, you've got all the classics, the Mothman, and all of the Dogman stories, Michigan Dogman, and it's a struggle for me. And Daniela knows this. Over the last 6 months, I've mainly been focused on struggling with the psychological aspects of research and witness sightings. And Danielle has probably also got used to the fact that I tend to tear everything apart, even my own research, and pull it apart and see if it still works afterwards. And my issue with it at the moment really is that one, there's no possible way with all of the sightings and things that are going on and the attention, especially in North America or the USA, that's paid to them, that we can avoid alibi type sightings. So essentially, if you're a policeman, you know when somebody's constructed an alibi and when somebody's alibi is natural, right?
Right.
You can tell Bigfoot on the brain type stuff or whatever the cryptid is. And it seems sometimes like we're standing in a stream and the water keeps coming around and giving us the same sort of information, but it's not a stream. It's like a little moat going around the bend of the castle and coming back. And essentially everything that's passing us is creating what's coming towards us. And that sounds a bit confusing, I know. But to me, I'm wondering, where are we with this now? How can we possibly, and this is why I've struggled with the book, how can we possibly validate sightings anymore as being bona fide when everybody knows what they should be telling us? And one of the examples I made to somebody recently was after I spoke to Wes Jim on the Sasquatch Chronicles show, and I know Wes has been on your show. He's got a very popular show, hasn't he? And I must have received like more sightings than I've ever received before in the 2 months following doing his show. I'm pretty good at picking out something that's fabricated. I'd say 99.9% of all of the sightings were exaggerated or they were just pure fabrications. And each one started with, I heard you on Sasquatch Chronicles, and I just wanted to say blah. And I wondered if it's something about joining a tribe or a group or being part of it. And maybe the person's not dishonest, but their mind allows them suddenly to expand on the experience a little bit, sort of fill in the sides and give me what I'm looking for instead of what really
Right.
happened.
Well, I don't know about the tribal thing, but I mean, you're not wrong. Even Bigfoot researchers do this. Bigfoot researchers, a lot of them still struggle with Dogman. And I mean, we're talking people that have seen Sasquatch. They struggle with Dogman. They struggle with Mothman and all these other cryptids. But you're not wrong. You have to, weigh the source of your information. When it comes to a Bigfoot sighting, I have a tendency to believe everybody. I don't know. It's just, it could be a flaw. I don't know, but it's not that I don't weigh the source of the information. I mean, that's the first step of critical thinking is to weigh the source of the information. And it's not uncommon for people to remember things differently than they happened, especially under duress. I mean, I've told my encounter 100 times, but that may not be exactly how it happened. It's just how I remember it, because, adrenaline was flowing and, I think there are other mitigating factors in there, but as far as these people that have these sightings, like on Wes's show, you're right. You can kind of tell who's maybe exaggerating. I guess that's a good word for it. You can, but I don't think that a lot of them are really lying. I just think they're trying to sensationalize what happened to them to make it worth putting out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying particularly that the people on this show are not telling the truth. Just as an example of the people I encountered that contacted me after that. Now, generally speaking, if somebody comes to me with a sighting, you would never know. You will never ever know whether I believe you or not, because I'll always be very grateful and thank you for it, and ask if I have permission to use it, and etc., and then start just asking friendly questions in a conversational type of way to feel around what your background is and where you are. If there are any sort of mental health indicators. Not that having a mental health condition really should exclude you from having a sighting or diminish your sighting in any way. But if there's any delusional disorders, for example, that might be a thing, and you can pick up on that sometimes with people. But it's not, I'm not giving people the third degree. In my view, it's not really my business to decide whether it's true or not. Actually, just to decide whether it sort of meets the criteria to be able to share the
Yeah.
sighting.
So you're just kind of like the news.
Yeah.
You're just, this is what this is. Take it for what you want.
Yeah.
We kind of try to do the same thing. See,
Yeah.
we're doing the same thing here. I think everybody
think
should
so.
do that. Leave your own opinions out of it. We try to. I mean, obviously, everybody knows what we believe because we kind of make comparisons more than we do, or generalizations more than we do give our own opinions. We save our opinions for one particular place, and now that's we let in who we want. Daniela lets in who she wants into that. My poor wife, God love her. She just takes. She worked 13 hours. She's a charge nurse at Ochsner Hospital. And what are you doing? It's 7:21. Showtime, baby.
Bless
Sorry.
her, bless her.
Yeah,
She's worked
bless her.
hard. She's earned it today.
does.
She's earned a little
know.
break in. What are you doing with her husband?
I'm probably in trouble.
Look, I think that's very valid. I guess I'm just explaining the journey I've been on and why I've had to kind of start from scratch with this thing, because I was just kind of knocking it out really, really fast, and I thought, no, none of that is good enough. You have to, you got to give something that's that you would accept or believe as being plausible. The burden of evidence and etc. We don't really have enough to give back to people in that sense at the moment. The casts and the tracks are amazing. That's the best thing about Bigfoot, actually. There's casts. You can look at them. You can look at the dermal ridges. That's got weight. Cliff might call it soft evidence, but it still has a lot more weight.
No, I think that's our best evidence.
Sighting.
I think that's our best evidence. And I understand, you don't want to look back later and wonder if you could have done more with it. You want to give everything you've got and put into it. And that way no one can come in and say, well, why didn't you do this? Or you should have done this. I understand that completely. That's what we try to do.
Yeah.
We don't think of everything. It's hard to think of everything.
No, it's true. But my view is no man is an island. I'm always open to what people think because you build upon that. It's like being a musician. You don't create music out of nowhere. You have influences, don't you? You hear things and it translates into something else in your mind and exhibits itself in a different way in your creation, whatever that is, music or lyrics, etc.
Absolutely.
In regards to you, Daniela, I know that we were talking about the British Bigfoot thing a lot recently, weren't we? And I'd been to Galloway Forest Park in Scotland. There was there's a guy up there, Robert Shankland. He's a nice guy, good researcher, does a lot of footwork. Trains in the gym actually to get himself kind of trek ready. So he's doing miles upon miles, and it's a big Galloway Forest Park itself in Scotland. I think it's over 400 square miles. There's very few habitations around, a couple of towns, small, tiny villages, essentially, really. And
he's found prints, didn't he, a few years back?
He found some prints. He had that kind of picture they looked at later that looked sort of like a monkeyish face in the bushes, but he was never able to go back and find the spot. So, by his own admittance, it could be pareidolia. But he's reported on sightings up there from people, and there were some guys. This is in. I've got the list here actually. Let me see where is it. Oh yeah, so this was near Balminic Farm and Kirkmichael Road, straight to Ayrshire. So this is where I was in October, I think. This area, and these hunters, poachers most likely, I imagine, had gone into the forest at night to find some animals to poach, and had come running out, banging on this farm door, saying they'd seen a 9-foot tall man or big creature in the forest on 2 legs, and they were very shaken. And Robert had gone to the farm the next day and spoken to the father of the girl who'd answered the door to them, said yes. These guys were really, really scared, and they'd seen something in the forest, and it was bipedal. It was big and looming, around 9 feet tall. They said another one said around 7 feet tall. And the farmer described them as running out of the forest, running out of the woods like two wee frightened schoolgirls. So that's a very Scottish way to say something. So there was some, there was some generosity there. I thought was amazing. So we went up there to check it out, and also to look for other things like stick signs in this very unpopulated area that has a high deer population in Scotland, big arid wilderness, to see what we could see. And nothing. In fact, we barely saw any animals. There's a lot of pine plantation forest up there too. A lot of tick problems as well. And the moss is wet. The moss is about half of the foot thick all the way along. As soon as you step into the ground, you're up to your calves in water. And it's just the water from this moss. So I was very disappointed. And I noticed something very particular up there. And I'll try not to just monologue. I apologize, but I'll quickly get through this bit. What I noticed was, unlike all of the areas where we normally see stick signs, which are not far from urban habitations, this had none. The forest was uncomfortable. The forest was wet. It was a bad place for camping and bushcrafting and for children to go and play. And they wouldn't go and play in there anyway because of all of the ticks. And I thought, aha, isn't that funny? This is the one place I would be expecting to find all kinds of random stick signs everywhere if the rumors are true about them making stick signs. I'm not saying they don't, but I'm saying it's not evidence of them. And
Agreed.
there it was. There was this massive area. We went everywhere in this area. And did we find anything? No. And then we went into forests that had more animals, more deciduous forest, more sort of mixed types of trees and more woodland type forest. Still no stick signs anywhere, no branch breaks, no sticklings, no little teepees. I just thought this is a huge issue. Where are we going with this? And it became the whole subject of the documentary. Actually, sticks and stones. Like, what is going on with this thing? Where do we get this from? And whether or not some big creature will mess around with some sticks or put things together in the forest at some point. That's a possibility, but it's not a paper trail. So to
It
speak.
says a lot, really, doesn't it? That you didn't find anything up there,
Nothing.
and yet we have a lot of reports over here, and for me, there should be like loads of them about if they're populating or they're not, or they're not populating, and maybe there was at one point, and that's why you're not finding structures in Scotland, because they're not in Scotland. If they're making them, because is that, if they are making them, why weren't they up there?
That's my point. Is
it's
the stick thing is just null and void essentially as a paper trail on which to find Bigfoot. So when you get your stick signs and you get your stick pictures coming in, that's just sticks. And
you know the saying. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So, not really knowing, how aware these creatures are, depending on the area, I think that they're going to do as little as possible to give themselves away. So I think you're going to find the structures in more of the thicker areas where they think we're not going to go. That's just what I believe. That's just like here in Utah. Nathan Rio finds these structures on the northeast side of a mountain. Majority of them about 8,000 feet up. There's not a lot of people going around in there. So I don't know where you went exactly, but I think I would probably factor that into it. Was it close to a populated area? No, not really. Well, they may not be there, but I mean, what's the general consensus? And the same for you. Same question for you, Daniela. I mean, do you guys think that these creatures are there? I mean, I believe it's absolutely plausible. You've got the habitat for it. Why wouldn't they be there?
Well, I
think?
think it's. Oh, sorry, you first, Daniela.
I think because when I consider the amount of encounters that we hear in America, and it's a massive place, America. I mean, they've got, and Canada, but America, there's places for them to be out of sight where people don't need to see them. But they're not. They're coming in and people are seeing them, and we've heard hundreds and hundreds and thousands of accounts.
I think that's a population problem, though. That's what I think. But sorry.
Okay.
Trying to interrupt.
But still, there's lots of reports coming in England, but we're a much smaller country. I mean, literally smaller than what, California? Even smaller than that. Maybe
Smaller
that's
than that. Yeah.
Maybe that strip of it, and we should be tripping over them. We're not actually see. There's not been a face-to-face, maybe an odd one, but that we know of. But I would just think that we'd be coming across them a lot more. We'd be seeing them. There'd be.
I think it's a good point. I think it's a good point, but then you have to remember with the minimal amount of urban sprawl that we have and the type of outdoorsmen that we have here, we don't really stray from the path that much. We have a few wild campers, but most people, you take the regular paths, and a lot of places are very boggy as well, so you're very careful about where you walk. You don't stray off. So I think there's plenty of places that they could be where we just don't go very often or at all. It's more about, for me, it's more about justifying the sources of the sightings. It's more about having multiple sources for the sightings now. So Deb has been like a real stalwart researcher and devotee to this cause for 4 decades. She's compiled this great map of all these sightings, many given directly to her, some collated from stories and books, and the rest of it like we all do. But apart from who is there, there's me. I've received just a few sightings. There's Neil Young. He's had a few personal sightings, and he's received some of Neil Robson or Mark Robson, I can't remember, and a few others dotted around, and yourselves. There's not really that many people. So actually, and I think Debs is aware of this too, the information lies in too few hands at the moment for there to be a good. So if I was making it all up, for instance, if it was me, if I was fabricating everything I had, that would have a heavy impact on the thing. If she had made mistakes in the sightings that she'd taken, or hadn't been careful, or fabricated it, and I don't think she's fabricated it at all, by the way, but if she had, that would be a massive blow to the whole genre here.
Right.
Because so much is held within this one person. So I think what we're lacking really is some sort of organized or collectible interest and collectible group of witnesses who can be independently interviewed. Now that's difficult because how many?
Well, we have more access over in America. There's more access to the witnesses. We get to talk to them. The names are out there. They're talking about it. They're in groups. Don't seem to find that in the UK.
But I think that's cultural as well.
I think the UK cultures also, you're going to run into more ridicule probably with people that they just can't believe it. And then one thing that we don't do is think about the nature of the creature. I mean, here in the United States, like me, myself, I know they exist. I know they're real. So why aren't people just seeing them walk through the woods? Well, that's not what they do. Obviously, they spend a lot of time directly in contact with the ground. I believe they're comfortable in the worst areas possible. I think that's where they stay. The whole idea of survival is not being found out. So why leave sign for us to find? I don't think that it shouldn't be much different there. If they exist there, then they're obviously doing this. If they are there, then they're just very good at staying away from people and not leaving behind traces so people can find them there. And to me, if there was this positive, absolute evidence of them being there, what do you think would happen to them in that country?
Nothing bad would happen to them. I mean, look at the big cats. There's clearly big cats in this country in large numbers now. We're talking about hundreds, perhaps, throughout the entire country since the 1970s. They've been breeding and breeding and breeding, and as big cats do, moving out into their own territories. You've possibly had an experience with something like that, Daniela. I know tons of people have seen them, and yet the British government and the way we deal with things is it's not even a no comment situation. It's just not handled, not dealt with. Nobody's bothering. And if you bring it up, newspapers will cover it. They'll cover your sighting, and some are very valid, and some are obviously, savannah cats and F1s and F4s and the rest of it. But this is a really serious problem we have, and yet nobody cares. I imagine that if somebody found one, it would be dismissed and laughed about in the news, and it wouldn't be taken seriously. It's not like the US. Nobody's bringing this thing in for scientific evaluation. Nobody's out there with that kind of equipment to begin with. Nobody would be packed or armed in any way unless they're, a moorsman or a grouse hunter, or I mean, even that, a rifle you use to shoot a grouse, that's not going to take down a Bigfoot. Not even one that's purported to live here of the sizes we have, 6 to 8 feet. So I think it's just completely improbable. The one thing I will say is if they do exist here, then they've always been here with us, and therefore they're used to our country, our land, our people, and staying out of our way. And to sort of support that theory, that I think that the one thing all rare animals have in common is that they're rarely seen. That's why they're rare,
Right.
They
And you're on an
stay out
island.
of the
It's not
way.
like they have very far they can go, unless they're swimming, to the mainland. But I mean, essentially, it's an island, not a whole lot of area. Any direction you go, you're going to run into water.
Sooner or later, but it's not. It's not a desert island. It's
Right.
there's
No, I get it.
there's
I get
space.
that.
There's space to walk around, and I always say, Britain is a small country, unless you're on foot.
Then it's big.
Or a
And
bike.
it's big.
I'm sorry. I'm going to take 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Sure,
Got a
that's
surprise for
fine.
everybody. You guys carry on.
Well, look, let's just nip back to your
Yeah.
new book. Essentially, you actually need people to come forward, don't you, with their own
Yeah, I've got this.
encounters or stuff they've seen or heard.
Yeah, like always. I mean, I'm covering North America. I'm going to try and get South America done by December. That will be a bit harder because of the language as well, and less focus there. But yeah, I need people to come forward with their sightings, even if it's regarding. And I will be very respectful, and I don't, regardless of what I'm always talking about over-examining everything. That's me with my research. That's not the treatment I'll give you. It's the treatment I give me, basically. And yeah, that's just the way it is. But people to come forward, you will be fully respected. I normally try to keep the witnesses anonymous anyway, and try not to use either full names or, if you prefer it, not your real name at all. That's the best way, really, because then people are more willing to share what they know.
Yeah. Well, if anyone's watching this and they do have a cryptid story as something that they want to share with you, Andy, we've got an email here, yourbfstory@gmail.com. And if anyone writes in, I'll pass it on to you, and you might get a few new
It would be
encounters.
great. It would be great. And if not, you may have heard of things. You might have heard of folk tales or legends or myths and rumors. Remembering, I'm not familiar with the US and Canada primarily. Of course, I'm researching it, but it's different to knowing a land, to having a look from the outside and understanding how things work or how tales are told and what the significance of them could be. I'm very interested in First Nations reports, particularly as well, because obviously that's the history before the Europeans arrived, and that gives us that background that we need. That goes past
Yeah.
those couple of hundred years. Yeah, all of it. Love the whole thing. Not really covering paranormal stuff. Anything. I mean, there's a border. I know there's a cross border with those things, like the Dog Man or like the Wahila. Interested in all that stuff.
Or it could all be the same thing, Andy.
It could
Could
be
all
the
be
same thing. It could be the same thing, and I'm
same.
not closing down to it. But I mean, I just mean that I'm not probably interested in taking ghost stories and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
So since this book, which I've got here and I've been enjoying,
Ah,
your I think it's your second edition.
it is. Yeah.
What have you heard since that book? Any new stories, or encounters or sightings that you thought, oh, I wish I'd have put that in the book?
Well, no, just the extra ones that I did add actually that weren't in the first book. But then some of those are on the Medway. That was down here in Kent, and that's interesting because there's actually been a lot of sightings down there. Kent is not far from here. It's another county in southern England. A lot of sightings, and there was a guy, a really nice guy, and he'd given me. He'd actually invited me down. You can see it on my YouTube channel. Him and his wife, they graze some horses close to the Medway. It's a very flat, marshy bit of land with lots of rivers running in and out of it. Stretches on forever right at the coast. There's great sort of fish and shellfish supplies there, and lots of cattle around as well. Not many houses, not many people. Completely black after dark. And this is, I think she had the sighting on the 21st of Jan, 2019. She was, and I interviewed her. She was very matter of fact. He likes the Bigfoot thing a bit, but she's not into it. She was out in the field clearing the horse muck up and concentrating on what she was doing. She caught the shape of a figure in a corner of her eye walking along the other side of the fence about 150 yards away. Now the fence it's sort of interjected every 3 or 4 feet with these bushes that are about 6.5 feet tall, and behind those bushes is about 2 feet, 3 feet of earth, and then a really steep drop, about a 30-foot drop down onto a freight rail line that's disused, is out of use now. It used to be for a factory. And she sees this figure walking along the fence, and as she sees it, her dog gets really wound up and goes chasing off after it. Now it disappears. She gets over there. She can't see it, but one of the weird things she noticed about it was that its head was above the height of the bush, head and shoulders above the height of the bush. And yet the bush, when I stood in front of the bushes, well, I'm only 5'9", but it was sort of towering over me. The bush is over 6 feet tall. So how tall was the
Wow.
figure? She couldn't see any detail. It was far away. It was that time in January, 8:30 a.m. It's still a sort of sunrise kind of period in this country, isn't it? It ran away. She didn't see it anymore, but she was kind of really put out by this. And this is in an area where there's been lots of other sightings around the Isle of Grain. I was taken while I was there to a farmhouse where there was lots of disturbance happening on the house, banging on caravans and on doors. And a lady who lived there had seen a tall, hairy creature. It looked like a cross between a man and an ape, walking on 2 legs. And it was leaning basically over one of the cars and rocking one of the caravans that was there. Now, what she said is when it was leading of the Ford Escort van, so I think that's like a mini van, like a half van.
Yeah.
It was hunched over, but the roof of the van only came up to its stomach. Now, the
Wow.
house he showed me, it was really out in the middle of nowhere. There's one road that goes down for a few miles, and then you come to this big house. It's off to the right. And then the rest is just snaking sort of rivers and flat marsh forever and ever and ever, really. You really can't see past it. This is flat marsh that just goes on forever. And so I added some of those, and I thought that these are kind of their new sightings. They're very important. They're all in the same area. There'd been a sighting there a few years back as well, where somebody baling hay had seen one of these large, hairy, man-like creatures running along some of the hay reels. I guess when they pulled up, had seen them and they'd just taken off, basically. So it had weird kind of hair at the back, almost like a mane.
Right.
Spun its head round as if to hide its face as soon as it saw them looking at it, and took off running on two legs. So, it's surrounded by the Thames marshes. It's in the Kent area. It's very rural, and there's been a history of sightings there. And I just think these are the kinds of things that are interesting to me. However, my mind immediately goes to the figure that was seen. That for some years now, bit by bit, migrants have been crossing the English Channel and ending up in Kent. And could this have been somebody in dark clothes trying to stay out of sight and making their way along this disused railway track and just sort of came up the embankment for a while just to get out of it? I saw somebody looking and dashed off. It's possible. Who knows?
Yeah.
These things aren't really very descriptive, but in two occasions at least there is a description of the hairy man and the height, which is very telling.
Yeah. That's why I feel like in America and over there, there's so much more description of the body, the face. There seems to be a lot more.
Yeah.
You seem to be able to get a lot more detail. The sightings seem to be much longer, even though it could only be like 30 seconds and even 10 seconds. They're very brief accounts in the UK, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just.
I wonder if it's because they know that they don't have really anywhere to go. I mean, I wonder if that's the difference. Is that here there is this great vast area. I mean, like Andy said, there's still places that people don't go. But
Yeah.
are they just that much more cautious?
I think possibly
Well, it's
because
not
there's more in. Sorry.
21 miles to France, isn't it? Swimming as a crow flies.
Oh, I'm glad that they're swimming, but
I mean, they wouldn't even know where the next island or bit of land was.
No, I mean, I theorized about that a long time ago. I wrote a little blog about it, and there's a chapter in the book about Doggerland, the Doggerland land bridge as well. So we basically proved that there was a land bridge between the UK and Europe thousands of years ago, that's named now Doggerland. Basically now, they've pulled up all kinds of bones from their deer and mammoth and the bones and all kinds of tools and things. They think that was maybe submerged around 6,500 BC, at a time when people inhabited the nation that existed between the two land masses. Now the sea is very shallow around the English Channel, so it kind of makes sense that might be the case. Now, it's a bit of a get out of free jail card to say, well, that's maybe when they came, into Britain and stayed here. And people say, well, that's a bit of a stretch. But then, how did all of the other animals get here? How did the bears get here, and the wolves, and the foxes, and the wild boar, and all of the things that we used to have but don't have anymore? Many of them. How did they get over here? We had cave lions thousands and thousands of years ago. How did they get here? At some point, there's been a way to get from the mainland to this country, and that's where our animals, most of them, came from, and perhaps these as well. That's assuming that they do exist, which I'm not saying that they do.
That's interesting, though. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I just want to show everybody this stuff. This just came in. I just got 6 of these. This is the body cam right here on the shoulder mount. I know that's awesome, but no, check this out. This is a watch. I don't know. Can you see?
I see it.
You wear this on your wrist, and it shows you where this thing is pointing. And these are the radios right here. I got 12 of these, 3.5 mile range, and the earpiece. I'm sorry, this thing's backwards. Little earpiece.
That's
so you
awesome.
hit the little button right here. Gold leader. This is Red Fox.
It came from behind.
Lamont, you big dummy. But yeah, no, this is just got 6 of these things. I just want everybody to see. This is
That's amazing.
yeah, I know it's happening. It's happening.
What a
And
tool.
then you take this with a 200. You put this test holds a 256 gig SD card.
Wow.
So you can take this, which is 20,100 milliamp hour battery, hook it directly to the camera, which it does work,
Wow.
and then you can film for 8 hours straight and not have to
Wow.
stop.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, that's how we got around that. But yeah, I just
That
want
is
everybody to see that. Okay, I'm backing out.
No, don't step out. That's the best thing that's happened so far.
I'll be back.
Well,
I'll be back.
I'm-
It's uncomfortable. That's all. I don't
yeah,
wanna
no,
do
you take it off. That's fine. I was just gonna say, I was saying to the guy I was speaking to earlier, Daniela, that and I'd been saying to my wife earlier today, I hadn't done interviews for a little while because I'm kind of sick of the sound of my voice. And she's like, maybe they're sick of it too. I don't get to
Well,
think about that sometimes.
Case, because you wouldn't be asked, would you? You wouldn't be asked.
I'm kidding. No, I don't mean you guys. I mean in general, people in general, because you don't know. You talk and talk and talk, and then that's what
I guess
happens.
it feels like you're kind of having the same conversation all the time, but you're always. I think we're always learning something new or triggering some other thought or something, isn't there? It's an ongoing process. This subject.
Definitely.
I kind of feel like the more we learn, the less we really know about what is going on. It's just hard to know what path to follow.
And if you don't have doubts, you're not actually taking it seriously. That's the way it is. If you don't doubt it all the time, you're not actually taking it seriously enough. You're being a believer instead of somebody who wants to find out the truth. Now, if you're a witness, and Kerry, you're a witness, right?
I'm a witness.
That's a different thing to get through because now you've got like a loaded bag. You're carrying some baggage with you, and everything that you produce to people is based upon a belief they think you have in having seen something. Whereas if you've never seen anything, you can be on the outside. You could say, "Okay, I'm willing to find out what this creature is." I don't
But there's
have
a line.
any.
There's a line, Andy. There's a line when it comes to belief. If you question every single thing and you doubt every single thing, you're not examining your own assumptions very closely. There should be a place where you start to believe. I mean, if you say you believe, should you really question every single thing? I mean, there has to be a point where you actually believe something, right? Because I run into those people. They doubt everything, but say, oh, well, I believe. Well,
No, I don't believe actually. I don't mean believe in the sense of believe upon evidence that is found. So when I see the cast, the tracks, the footprint cast, I'm like, yeah. For the ones that seem very valid, I believe that's come from a bipedal creature of some kind. Clearly, they all are. They're numerous. They have dermal ridges. People like Meldrum and the others have examined them and said, yes, these are bona fide footprints. I'm willing to take their word for that. Fine. But if I believe in this sort of faith-like way, I believe this creature exists.
Yeah,
I believe Nessie exists because of the eyewitness sightings. Then that's different. And that's the kind of belief I'm talking about. Don't be a believer unless you are a knower because you had your sighting.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about.
I kind of feel that, because I mean, Kerry, I believe you 100%, but always for me, I don't know because I've never seen it.
Right. No. I'm not saying don't question. I'm saying every single thing.
What it is, what you're talking about, because I've never seen one, and that like you said, that's the difference between.
There's a line. There's a line between the people that question every single thing, they doubt every single thing, but still say they believe. I have a problem with those people because do you really believe? Look at yourself again and think about this for a second. Do you actually believe this creature exists if you're going to doubt everything that everybody says? So there is a line there because those people are out there. I talk to them all the time, unfortunately.
Same. I had a guy comment on the YouTube clip from this documentary that I've done with Chris Turner, Sticks and Stones, and he let me put out a few teaser trailers, and this is the kind of comment. It's funny because it's it's just kind of I can put myself in this place. He's watched it and he's gone, oh, this guy again. This guy really irritates me. He really talks like he knows what. He really speaks like he knows what he's talking about. He doesn't know anything. And I can feel it. I can feel it coming off him. This bloke, he called me a bloke.
You
This
gotta
bloke,
love that guy there.
yeah, this bloke. And I just really laughed at what he said. And it's because I've been talking about big cats and should the government do something about it? Is it time they got involved and try to find out what the issue is, where the big cats are? Because clearly the population is growing and it's growing bolder, and that they are naturally predators. So at some point, it's going to become an issue. And I'd read to you what he said. Not that it really matters, but it was funny because it just shows how people feel when you're out there talking about something. So he says, here's that bloke who is acting like an expert, wanting the government to spend money on protecting leopards in the UK, even though there's not a shred of evidence they are here. Talking about Bigfoot. He's talking about Bigfoot now. You, my friend, are a whack job.
Look, you think we don't get that? That's a constant thing.
It's a constant.
It's a constant. It's really constant. But for me, I get a lot of emails on the back end, and there's always this level of doubt. And the type of person I'm talking about is, for me, there are answers to these questions. They're there. We can sit and speculate all day long and narrow down what the possibilities are within logic and reason. For me, that's the way I have to do it. I can't walk.
Same.
I can't walk directly into the portal. It's magic. It cloaks thing. I have to work within the boundaries of natural physics, logic, and reason. And what are the possibilities here? One of these things could possibly be right. We're not saying they are, but these are the things that we put out there, and it all gets doubted. Every bit of it. Well, no. Well, then bring something. If you're going to sit there and doubt, then come back with something. Come back with, no, I think it's this. That's not what's happening here.
Well,
that person, I block them. I've been blocking them here lately.
Now, if it seems like it's going to be just a silly argument, where somebody just wants to get nasty, I do remove it or block them. And Daniela knows that I had a bad habit in the past. I'm quite a passive guy, but generally speaking, if you're, I won't say a swear word, but if you're an idiot, a willing idiot in the way that you behave towards other people, it's like chumming the water for sharks and then jumping in. I'm just going to go full out on you, and no holds barred, because essentially you've told me you're not a human being anymore. So I'm just going in, and that's just fun. I don't know where to go.
I had to stop doing that because we've gotten to the point where we're big enough that it looks like we're punching down. And I had to stop hitting back because, you're talking about willfully ignorant. The frequently wrong, but never in doubt. These guys, they know what's up.
Thing. I like that. Frequently wrong, but never in doubt. I love that. It's,
I just ignore them now. I have to ignore them now. I can't do like I used to do and blast all of that.
I have started to ignore them. Yeah. I started because, my response to this guy, and that was only really playing, but and I read it. I thought, oh, you don't have to do that. And so he's commenting on the video. Here's that bloke, so he's telling people, but he's the only one who's commented. So essentially he's telling me. So I said, are you telling me here's that bloke? I posted this clip. I know it's me, you brainless miracle of modern medicine. Do yourself a favor. Go and get yourself some milk and cookies. They help the medicine go down. I just think
I can't do that anymore, man. I wish I could. I had to stop.
Linda
made me stop doing it.
Yeah, and I have to stop doing it. I don't normally do it, but
I think Daniela might have made me stop doing it too.
It's sometimes if they're really, really, really in it, I'll just do one. But make it lyrical, make it kind of slightly poetic. Chuck some alliteration in there, and act like a smart ass. And I'm not a smart.
You have to sound smarter. You got to sound smarter than them, or it's not going to come across, right?
But I'm not. Anyway, getting out of that stuff,
let's get out of
with
that.
the belief thing, and I'm only saying that as a, and I'm showing myself, just saying I can be really silly about these things. I don't really mind. I don't really mind if anybody agrees or doesn't agree, because I don't know, and it's not really about that. It's about the journey to try to find some proof. And where I've been for the last 6 months is examining the way that we do things. Even with the suppositions, especially with the stick signs and the things that we base future evidence on. So we had this situation in the UK. Daniela was very irritated with, just as I was, with all these researchers going out and posting pictures of sticks everywhere. Stick leans, stick glyphs, stick teepees, stick, I call them kaplunks, stick kaplunks, where they're all coming out from every side, and anything possible. And then you've got these Bigfoot pages full of sticks, nothing but sticks. And what are we? These people, pardon the pun, they can't see the woods for the trees, right?
That's a big one too. Daniela, your orb is back. I just saw it.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
About 15 seconds ago, right behind you.
Right. Oh, I'll have a look later.
It was big too. I don't know what mark we're at. I think we're at our hour actually.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
right. So yeah, it is. That's Barney.
Big.
That's right. And look, for people that don't know, do you mind me telling them about
No.
Barney? Barney, the dog, that Daniela had. He used to snore all the time during the show.
Oh, Barney. Oh, did he go, Daniela?
Yeah.
He went.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He had cancer.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, he had cancer, and Daniela had to put him to sleep. There he might be him. That's kind of strange that this is the second time that thing has showed up. And,
never had that before.
Never seen that before.
Like that.
But it was very clear. I mean, I saw it go right across the screen right there. So that's kind of Twilight moment stuff there. Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But Andy.
Before we end, sorry.
No.
Before we end, a couple of people did ask some questions before the show, and I said I'd ask Andy, and he didn't have the answers. He doesn't have any reports. But so I just wanted to let Leo, Moan know, and Raymond, I did ask you questions, but he doesn't have any sightings in those areas. But there's a link in the description of your book, Andy, and your Facebook page and your YouTube channel, and they can go and get your book.
They can get my book.
The updated one.
The updated one. And actually, only the updated one is available now.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And additionally, if they want, and I always say this, Deborah Atwell's done a lot of work on this subject, and I know sometimes she's seen as being controversial, but she keeps an up-to-date map. I think it's the British Bigfoot Sightings Reports. I think you have to sign up $2.99 or something, and you get access to her map. And whether you like to pay for it or not, it's a good resource, and it's a good place to go and find these things. And she may have some up-to-date sightings. I haven't taken any in the last year.
Well, Andy, we certainly appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome here. Whenever your new book comes out, you're gonna have to come back on. That.
I will. I definitely will. And I'm hoping to get back over there soon. Actually, maybe later in this year, or if not early 2021. But I've got a lot of visiting to do if I get over there. So it'd be great to see some of you guys.
Yeah, you're always welcome here, man.
Areas. I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to.
We got a place for both of you guys to stay if you guys come over here.
So.
And plenty of places to go. Not that we're going to go look for Bigfoot, but we'll go talk to some people that do look for them.
Awesome.
Great to have you on tonight, Andy. Who we got Saturday?
To be arranged.
Saturday to be determined.
Arranged.
But show up here anyway. 7 o'clock p.m. Central.
It's going to be a great show, whatever it is. And
always.
Next Friday, I'll be starting my new channel, which is called Hidden Existence.
Can they go and sub to that right now?
Yeah, there's a link in the description. It's still under, construction, but they can go and sub. And by the time Friday comes, it'll all be up and running, and I'll have a very special first guest on. Who's having an amazing.
I heard it was an extremely special first guest you're going to be having on there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mess with him though. He'd probably beat the heck out of him.
I got the red carpet ready and everything, so
Who's
it's going to be it's Mr. Kerry Arnold. He's going to come on and talk to us about his own encounter.
Sorry, Kerry, I'm so dense sometimes. That was
it's late, Andy. it's late and you've been up since 5. All is forgiven. Trust me. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
no worries. Absolutely. So
Right.
go and subscribe right now to Hidden Existence on YouTube. Her first guest is going to be yours truly, of course. And then once Daniela gets this thing rolling and she has a nice steady stream and over 1,000 subs, we're going to be backing this researcher report down to 1 day a week, Wednesday. But you're going to be getting Hidden Existence. I don't know what day you're going to do that. Are you going to do it on Saturday?
Well, this time it'll be on a Friday, and then we're going to we're going to tweak it. I want to know what people think, what days are good for them, what's a popular time. I'm trying to get UK and America together. And so we pick a time that works it'll never work for everybody, but
it never does.
Be to see what people think.
But it's going to be, people can always go back and watch it. And then we're putting out myself.
Sorry. No. I'm just saying it's nice to have that interaction from the chat as well. It's nice to have people in there.
It is.
Asking questions and getting involved. So, but we work towards that.
Right. Well, we're going to have myself and Mark Zasky. We've got everything put together. We've got the Patreon done, the StreamYard's done, the website, all this stuff is done. We just have to start recording shows. And Mark's really busy right now. So it's going to be called Mark and Kerry A to Z. And it's myself and Mark Zasky who, Mark is the king of, I would say, the professor of logic and reason when it comes to any subject at all. And we're going to be talking about a lot of subjects under the sun, a lot of fringe subjects that no one's talking about, a lot of ancient history we're going to go over, and it's going to be available to everyone for $1. So, and what that's going to do is fund our travel show that we're going to be putting out after the expedition. So a lot of stuff planned for 2020 and 2021. So backing off on the researcher's report, maybe that's what we're saying now. We may not, who knows? We'll see. It's not like it's not hard on me. Daniela does all the work here. I do absolutely nothing but show up and run my mouth. So we'll see. And we'll let you know when A to Z is coming out and Daniela goes up to Hidden Existence right now. How many names do we go through? 30?
Quite a lot. Quite a lot. The same one, just over and over and over and over.
Yeah. Hidden Existence is good. My favorite one was Kept Secrets. I like that one. Kept Secrets. I kind of like that one. But somebody else will come out with that now. I shouldn't have said anything. Damn it.
Yeah.
That could be my. You did not hear me say Kept Secrets. You did not hear me say that. These are not the droids you're looking for. All right. Thanks again, Andy, for coming on, Daniela.
Thank you, Kerry.
Show,
thanks,
always.
Daniela.
Thanks, Andy.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.